I shot this video that I'm going to share with you guys. I want to share this. This is a video I shot a few years ago. It was a pretty important date in my life. I had just did what was called the 29-029 challenge, which was a simulated Mount Everest climb. And basically had to climb a mountain 17 times over a couple days with some of the top athletes in the world. And the reason I'm sharing this video is right when I got done doing that climb, I flew home and I spoke at an event, a mastermind event, and I was talking about goal setting. I know that I got kind of choked up because there was so much emotion tied to setting that goal, climbing that mountain, thinking about how hard it was, and then coming back and trying to articulate to a handful of people, a group, a mastermind, some of my closest friends, about goal setting and what you were capable of because of the lessons I learned on that climb. And so, we call this the goal process. It's a little exercise, that you can walk yourself through. It helps you really get clear on what your goals are, both personally and professionally. Video's too good. I know I'm never gonna get choked up giving the presentation like I did back then, but the video's way too good to not share. So I decided to share it with you guys. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Reese. I'm a digital marketer, real estate agent, and a coach. And I help real estate agents who want to grow their business exponentially, want to grow more profits, who want to be able to build a business that works harder for them than they do for it. I help those individuals do that through social media, content creation, and digital marketing online. And if you like videos like this, again, please like the video. It helps me, and it definitely inspires me to do more videos. And if you're gonna like this video, probably like more videos that I'm gonna put out. So go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications, because we do put out new content every single week, and you'll be notified when it comes out. But without further ado, Backstage Pass, Omni Hotel, Dallas, Texas, the NAEA Mastermind. I hope you enjoy it. I got a text in my room a couple months ago, about 5 weeks ago, from Jay about midnight with a little thing that said he had signed up to go do this mountain climb. And I had just signed up to run a 60-mile run, which was kind of something that we were both motivated. We were the best speaker I'd ever seen speak in my entire life, personally. Jesse Itzler, and amazing guy, really amazing guy. And he got done speaking, and he just kind of, I just remembered one thing he said is, you didn't come all the way here just to get here. And so, you get into these places where you're motivated. So I went back to my room, and I'd been fighting with this, kind of scared to commit to running 60 miles. And I had kind of made a little bit of a choice and a kind of a commitment and, toying around with it. And I was like, man, he had actually shared a story that when he was on stage, he shared a story about a place where in his life where he had actually not set another goal. And the same thing happened for me. In July, I set a goal to run 250 miles, and I ran 250 miles. And it was pretty hard. Some days I had to run 10 miles every morning, and I wasn't a runner by any means. I'm carrying a lot of load. So it was just one of those things. I kind of decoded some of this over the last couple weeks or a couple days. But anyway, long story short, at the end of running that 250 miles, the next month I ran like 15. Didn't even run, right? I got to the finish line. Same thing happened the first time I quit drinking. Like, I quit drinking for a year, and then on day 366, I drank 2 bottles of wine, right? I don't have a problem with it. I don't know why I did it. And so, originally, I won't give you too much of the backstory because it is relevant. But I want to make sure that I'm respectful for everybody's time, and I know that I could tend to ramble, so I'll try to stick to these slides. But what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is the goal process. It's not in context. This is actually a process that you can use it's a pretty amazing process you can use to create products. It's really the principle of deconstructing anything you want to do. It's been extremely valuable to me. I actually do it on a daily basis now, and it really gives you a linear, it's probably one of the best things that I've ever, looking back, I don't know, I think my brain or our brains are wired to work a certain way, and when we don't have certain processes, or if we don't know what we don't know, things take a little bit longer. This has been a really good way for me to kind of reverse engineer. I found out there's like education, all kinds of different things that kind of utilize a process that I'm going to share with you. But before I get into that, I'm going to share, I've been debating. I was like, man, I'm going to cuss the whole time. I'm going to drop every cuss word because that's how I really feel like cussing right now. But I'm not going to cuss. But if I do, I don't really care. what I did want to share with you guys was, and let me see if I can use this. And pardon me if I ramble just a little bit. I am still trying to. So you say you'll die on the treadmill. I don't think you will. You know, a lot of people, you heard Will Smith say, if I get on the treadmill, I die on the treadmill. Who's heard that quote, right? I don't know that you would die on the treadmill. You know, motivation is something that leaves really, really quickly. I said I would die on the treadmill. I remember hearing the video. And I know other people, you know, you get really motivated to do something in your life. What I realized is, like, when you get out there and the motivation's gone, motivation isn't going to get you across the finish line. A song ain't going to get you across the finish line. You can play, you know, Every Day of Hustling. That ain't going to do it. You can play the best beat you want to play. What I learned was what really gets you across the finish line is just, you know, really coming to conclude. And I don't know why. It's really kind of an emotional thing. I don't feel emotional, but I did, because it was really hard. And it's not about what I did. It's about, you know, in my tent, when I got in my tent, I met the guy. Guy comes into my tent. His name was Mark, and this dude named Brad. And they just flew in on a private jet. Brad was the co-founder of Groupon. And I end up crawling up this mountain with the guy, and I'm sitting there halfway up this mountain, and I'm talking to this guy, and he's, you know, everybody who's doing this with you is like, dude, this is hard. You know, you got a high level of respect for one another. And this guy I'm climbing up, and this younger guy comes up on us. He's probably 24. He literally was training to climb Everest. He comes up on us and he's like, hey, he's just kind of casually talking. And he said, man, how'd you hear about this? He said, man, from Preston's podcast. And the guy said, I'm Preston. He was like, Preston, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I've been walking with this guy. I don't know who the hell you are, you know? And Preston has the #1 downloaded podcast for value trading. He's like the #1 guy for Warren Buffett's investing system. I did like 3 runs with this guy. Never talked to him about work. All we talked about was taking the next step. And that was kind of cool, just to kind of have that experience to meet people outside of like work. And, you know, a lot of what I reflected on was just a lot of the things that, you know, I don't know. It just, I had a lot of reflection. On the website, it said you'll find your soul. I felt like I did. So this is the process that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the process for achieving your goals, living a life by strategy, and modeling and learning and teaching, teaching anyone anything. That's at the end of the day. How many in here in this room actually set goals? So I would have raised my hand, just like going through the motion. I mean, I got stickies all over my office, right? How many of us honestly set goals that we truly every single day, not business goals, right? Like, we all got business goals. We're in here for business. I don't think my presentation is going to be that much business, because y'all are already doing a great job. You're at the top of your game. You know, you're #1 or #2 in your markets. But how about goals in other areas of your life? Who's setting goals like for their relationship with their spouse, right? So those are the types of things that I'm going to talk to you guys about. And to be honest with you guys, I'm going to do my very best job. I'm just sharing with you what's on my mind. I don't know how this is going to come across. Hopefully it comes across good. It sounded good when I went through it in my head. But we're going to talk about achieving your goals. So this is the definition. Goal setting is the process of establishing an outcome, a goal to serve as an aim for one's actions. I want to talk to you about how you set goals for how you spend your time, right? I want to talk about goals on how you're going to stop wasting your time. And probably the one thing that I've spent the most time this year is I've been spending a lot of time this year finding out how I can collapse time. And what I mean by that is really just understanding the virtual fundamental principle of leverage. Like, how do you leverage your time, right? It's just so easy to get caught up in just doing what you've been doing. And I would like to say just, like taking a break. Mark Chesley, I think, says, come up for air for a second and really just kind of assess where you are with everything and what your goals are. I personally made a goal of places that I wanted to stop wasting my time, period. And everybody in here, I'm sure you have some place in your world where you're spending time that you don't need to be spending it. And you should really reflect on that. I'm not a goal scientist. I don't know. I'm just sharing with you what I did this year. I took the time. It's had a huge impact on I feel like the direction, but not just the direction. Like, it's weird. I came back from this hike, and if someone asked me, I was like, my number one goal was to be a better husband. That was it. And I was like, I would think it would be to be a better father, but it wasn't. And I don't know why. Do you get happier hitting your goals, or do we hit our goals because we're happier? Anyone have an answer for that? Anyone?
I think second will become as you hit the goals.
I absolutely believe. I think that if you set a goal and you think that that's going to make you happy, it generally doesn't. Because you do have to find the happiness in order to have goals that align with what makes you happy.
I agree. We've all struggled with like working out and doing stuff and being on and being off. And, we get motivated and we want to start doing something, then we stop, then we drop off. And I personally have reflected. I would say that I've probably been a little bit more consistent than I've ever been. And it was really when I got to like a whole different, as I started understanding a little bit of principle-based thinking and getting like really just starting to try to deconstruct things to their principle, that translated over into my goal setting. So my personal goals have nothing to do with like the subsurface. I personally try to get my goals down to like a very fundamental principle. Like running the 100 miles, I was thinking about, like, I was on a car ride, and I think I was in North Carolina. I was somewhere, and I was thinking about my grandkids, and I was like, man, what are my grandkids, what stories am I going to tell my grandkids? What am I going to? A guy told me one day, if you were going to write a book, what book would you write? What book would you have? What would you want the book to be? To give yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? Like looking back in time. So I was just like thinking like, man, if I was going to write a book and give it to my grandkids, what could I give them as it related to like really not affecting them making money, but like how do I give them like a tool to make choices, right? So there's a book by Edward de Bono. It talks about teaching your children how to think. And so I was like, man, I have a little boy that reminds me of me. And he's the one I worry about the most. And I'm like, I don't want him to have to get shot in the eye with a BB gun just to figure it out. I don't want him to have to, have things happen to, a lot of times, a lot of things come from struggling. And I don't want him to have to struggle to find out to make the right choice, right? And so anyway, I just was interested in this kind of thoughts, and we've all seen the circle. So I broke it down. I literally, on January 2nd, I sat in my office at my home and I wrote down all of my goals for my family, for my health, my desired outcomes. I had never, ever, ever taken the time to really do it. Did I write a goal down before? Yes. Me and my wife did 100 dreams. Yes, I know where they are, but I had never really taken the time. And I think it was really impactful as it related to, for some reason, it was with me every single day when I woke up. Like I've thought about it every single day. It affected every single choice. It's affected me a lot. What I've realized is I've seen other people who have been writing goals down, or myself reflecting on myself in the past. And what I can tell you is that what I've learned, and these are from myself and just living, is that like you can't make a goal that's going to make you not happy. Like if you set a goal to do something that's not congruent with like who you really want to be or who you really want to become, and it's like this goal that every day you're not getting happier in the pursuit of the goal, then it's not really a good goal, right? I mean, the goal, in my opinion, should be something that every single day that you're working towards that goal, you should feel really good about the pursuit of the goal. And so think about, goals that maybe you've set before for yourself that you never accomplished. I mean, everybody in here has set a goal. And the thing about a goal, a real hard goal, a real big goal, is that they take a lot of work. And when the song's not playing and when the video's not there and when the speaker's off the stage and you're not at the conference anymore and you're back at home and you're going to the grocery store and it's time to decide what you're going to put in the grocery cart, and the chips are, for me it's Funyuns, whatever it is for you, right? Like you have to know why. And so, you really should take the time when you do write the goals down, is you should really go a step deeper before you just set a goal and just set it. You should really ask yourself, why does this goal really matter? And so that's very, very important. I know it changed for me because my ability to just write a goal and actually stick to it and then do the things when the motivation left from when I actually wrote the goal down to when I actually had to do the work and get up and actually work very, very hard towards the goal. It was because I had taken just a few extra, maybe it was 25 minutes, but I'd actually taken the time to really understand like how this goal was going to affect my family. I bought a dog. I was never going to have a dog again, ever. I love dogs, but I never wanted one. And, I didn't just go buy a dog because my wife wanted to go get a dog. I had to really understand like getting this dog, what it meant for because it was a commitment. Let me tell you something. My first dog, I had to walk that sucker in the rain. I had to hire a dog pooper scooper. I had to go get dog food when there was no dog. I had to haul the dog at Christmas. The dog sat in my lap on Thanksgiving and the car ride to the lake. I had to make room for the dog. We had to stop for the dog. There was a huge commitment for getting this dog. So it wasn't about like just getting a dog. I was like, am I going to really get a dog? And what am I saying yes to? All these things. But like my goal was for my kid. I didn't want to deny my kids selfishly, not having a dog. Right. And so me and my wife sat down and I shared my philosophy on the dog, which we had never done before. My philosophy, like my desired outcome was I don't want my dog in my bed. I don't want my dog on my carpet. I want my dog to do this. I want my dog to do that. And we got on the same page where we had a goal. We aligned the goal, right? And so I'm sharing that with you just because, maybe there's something that there's someone in your life that means a lot to you, that they have a goal and you want to help them achieve it. One thing that I learned on the front end that gives us fulfillment is helping other people achieve their goals. And so this is a quote from Albert Einstein: "The value of achievement lies in the achieving." If I audited right now how you currently spend your time, what areas of your life are currently lacking attention? What areas of your life? I can tell you, like, I've been up here before talking and my wife would be like, that's bullshit. Right? And I believe the reason why is because I believe at our core we all have two identities, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But we have this identity of who we are here today, and then we have this identity of who we really are, right? And that's what it comes down to is like, when we're all here amongst each other and we're all top real estate professionals and we're all making money, which really doesn't mean shit when you get down to the core, right? Like, have someone get really sick in your family. So, who's seen this before? Anyone? My perfect, I think, I don't know who originated it. It's out there, but it's how you kind of balance out You know, where are you in balance right now in your life? Again, the only reason I share this with you because I believe that everybody in here, you know, I see a lot of people. Who's ever read the book, How the Mighty Fall? Anyone? It's called The Undisciplined Pursuit of More. The Undisciplined Pursuit of More. Just to go get more and more and more and more and more and more. And what are you trading, right? Like, what are you trading? So I think it's really important to ask yourself, you know, like, where are you in balance right now in your business? Because you've already demonstrated that you're great business people or you wouldn't even be here, you know, right? But you can double your business, but I can tell you, from my personal experience, it doesn't always translate into having more fulfillment, right? And you can do both, but you just got to make sure that you know what you're sacrificing. Having your goals is going to help you really document it. Having them written down is going to help you with a couple different filters. One, it's going to help you with focus. It's very hard for me to. I have to know the goal. I know now as I reflect back, I will straight work side by side, elbow to elbow with Alex every day. And if the goal changes, I could be over here working with him. And the goal can change, I could be working with those two people. I mean, if wherever you tell me the goal is where my time and attention goes, because I'm very goal oriented, right? It's just the way it is. And so you got to make sure that, you know, there's a Bunsen burner example that says goals compete for, like when you turn the gas up on one burner, the other burners go down. So your goals actually compete for your attention. And so you're in for your energy and where you focus. And so you got to really make sure that you're got a really good idea of where you have to have a really good, clear idea on, hey, what am I trying to achieve here? And what am I trading here? And trying to get a good balance. I mean, just because everybody in here is a super achiever, and we all know that it's very easy for us to get focused in on one little area, right? Would you all agree with that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. All right, thanks. So insight I learned from setting goals. Set big goals. You know, I was with a lot of amazing people. I don't think any one of the people that I met is any different than any person in this room. I just think that they have, I met a lot of amazing, super successful entrepreneurs, and it would be like just sitting in here with you guys. So like anything that anybody in this room wants to do, you can do, you know. I'm going to share in a minute, but you know, is your LinkedIn profile 10 years from now going to say neighborhood expert? Or is it going to be more than that? Right? Is that just one path to like a bigger set of goals? Real estate is like is a vehicle to do a lot of amazing things with. I mean, really amazing things with. And so I'm just saying that, just think about that. You know, how big are your goals? And do they trend? I know that if you don't even give it the time or the thought, that you'll probably end up taking over the neighborhood. You'll end up taking over whatever you want to take over. When I wrote up with the guy Preston's podcast is called Decoding Billionaires. So he's interviewed. I'll get you that. I'm paraphrasing, but what he does is basically he's done more. I walked with this guy for 3 laps, which was a long time, and we got to chatting. Not a lot, but we talked, and we would talk on the ride down, and he would tell me about what he learned from, you know, working and studying billionaires. And the number one thing he told me was, Mike, you know what it is they just set huge goals, and for some reason they think they can do it. That was it. So I can just say, like, right now, you know, whether it's You know, I could easily open this presentation up with putting a man on the moon, but like really, you only have so many more weekends and days. And they say the number one regret you have is like all the things you didn't try. You didn't. I'm not saying go chase every opportunity. I'm just saying get really clear on what it is that you want to do. And if it's be the number one agent in your community, if it's be the number one agent in your city, and that's the peak of your goal, then fine. Or you can set it bigger, and you can do that and many more things. So think about what your goals are. What is the biggest goal you have for your health right now? Someone share with me their biggest health goal right now. For their health.
I want to look good naked.
That's my goal. You already do, bro.
That's scary.
Anybody else?
6% body fat.
6% body fat. Anybody else?
6-pack.
6-pack. Reedy, what's your health goal? Lose 30 pounds. Stace?
Weigh 250.
Alex?
205.
205. What would you feed a horse if you paid $1 million for it? What would you feed $1 million horse?
The best recommended diet
Huh?
by the most highly paid experts.
It was interesting to see for ourselves. I mean, we don't have anything if we don't have our health. I mean, we're literally just going through the motions of the shit we put in our bodies and the lack of attention that we're giving to our own health. Whether you agree, I mean, the best recommendation, and I have it in my phone. It was what Preston said and what Jesse said. It's the number one book. It was called Live to Eat or something like that. Everyone was talking about it at this event, like how it was literally life changing. It was the number one. It was my number one takeaway from being at this event. And it was every time I took a step up the hill, I was like, man, I'd much rather eat chicken and rice than ever climb this sucker again. Anything is easier than doing another. If someone said, if I woke up every morning, they said, do a lap on the mountain or eat chicken and rice, I'd say, give me my chicken and rice. I would eat salmon. Everything that I had in my mind that didn't want to eat certain foods because I'm a picky eater, it went out the window. Because I was doing something else that was so hard, and it just gave me like this awareness that like I was like, man, it sure would be a lot easier to drop 30 pounds and hike this hill than walk up this mountain. And so, you know, just understand that like you're in a very unique situation because, you know, you're one decision away from being in the best shape you've ever been. One decision, one choice. So identify the constraints up front. If you want to hit a goal, identify what the logistical constraints might make it difficult for you to achieve your goal. So, you know, when somebody is like past the point of just being motivated and they actually are going to really set a goal and go do it, they'll actually take the time to remove everything in the way that's going to stop them. Here's what happened for me. And this is true. I mean, I'm not making it up. I don't need anything for significance. I'm a hermit. I can sit in my closet all day and be cool as a fan. I'm just sharing with you because I'm trying to add value. That's the only reason. And I can tell you right now that when you run 250 miles in a month, it is 3 miles is like, okay, I'll do that. You mean I'll be back in, 25 minutes versus having to tell your wife every night, because you don't go until your kids go to bed and have to run until 11 o'clock till 1 in the morning just to, that was the number one thing that I feel like if I had to say, not because I'm endorsing running or anything like that. I can just tell you the lesson I learned that when you do something that's so extremely hard, the stuff that you bellyache about seems infinitely easy, right? Like going to work out at the gym seems like a joke after what I did this weekend. right? It's like, yeah, let's go to the gym. Much rather do that. And I think that that's part of the takeaway. Versus, I used to act like going to the gym was hiking a mountain. And it's not. Going to the gym ain't hiking a mountain. Going to the gym is easy. It's fun. It's good. It's like just changing the way that you think about it. What behaviors might make it difficult for you to achieve your goal? I can tell you right now, it's ego. There's a book called The Unbeatable Mind. It's amazing. It talks about the 3 wolves. It's about the guy who actually designed the Buds training class. He's a Navy SEAL. He talks about when he got into, you read it? When he got into a submarine, and they got in these little submarines with these little compartments. And right when he got in, his goggles came off. But he couldn't come up. They train you. So literally, he's in this submarine with a oxygen tank with no mask, can't see. He was supposed to be the driver. They had to do an emergency switch. They're underwater for like 3 hours in a submarine, like they're on a mission. But he had to use only his mind and self-talk to talk him through not panicking. And he said, do you know how much mind torture was to just use your mind, being underwater somewhere in the ocean, not being able to see, not being able to use your mask? And he gives a really cool example of just the different levels of consciousness. And so a lot of the times I've done it, so I recognize it in other people. They're like, oh, well, I do this or I do that. I mean, first of all, that's I, right? And let's just take that just for a second. Let's just move. What should you be doing, right? Like, what should you be doing? Don't let your I control your whole life. Right? Like, what should you be doing when you're not doing what you should be doing? Right? I mean, we all know what we should do. I know what I should do, and I know when I'm doing shit I shouldn't be doing. But at the end of the day, let me tell you what I say. And Jay says it. I do whatever the hell I want to do. Is that me? Is that me, or is that my ego? Right? And so one of the things that, and I just became aware with the self-talk. When you run for a long time, let me tell you what it says. Dude, 6 miles is good. 6 miles is good. You can do it tomorrow. Shit, let's just do 2 more laps in the morning. That's the same person. And when you learn how to have a conversation with that person, and you learn how to actually talk to them, and you learn how to put them where they need to be, it's a huge, huge win. Because in everybody right now, we have multiple, I don't care, we have self-talk that's going on in us right now. And we either get control of that or it controls us. I don't know, but for most people, when you're wanting not to go to the gym, it's not because you don't want to go to the gym. You wanted to go to the gym. You wanted to eat right. You just are letting somebody else talk you into something else. I told Wally, Wally was on my back porch. A buddy of mine came to my house. A buddy of mine came to my office, young kid. He came in, he opened the door, he poked his head in, he went to play Jay for ping pong. Jay beat him in ping pong, won his Rolex, right? And he came back in the next day, or 2 days later. He's like, man, I really need to talk to you. I was like, man, hit me back up on my cell phone. I'm kind of busy. 2 weeks later, the kid killed himself. So I go to the hospital. He's like, what, 20, 24, 25? And I could just see the whites of his eyes. And he was sitting there dead, right? And he was just in our office. Jay just beat him for his Rolex. Like, beat him in a game of ping pong for his Rolex. He did give him his Rolex back, but Jay did win. And so it was haunting me about Wally. I've always had this on my mind. So Wally was at my house on my back porch. And I told him the story about Corey coming to my house. And I said, Wally, I'm not going to have it on my conscience, bro. So I'm just going to tell you right now. I said, do you know who's going to pack your house when they find you dead? said, do you know who's going to pack it? You think it's going to be your ex-wife? Your girlfriend's going to drive all the way down here? Who's going to get your dogs? Who do you think is going to call your kids? Who's going to tell them? And I just talked to him for like 10 minutes, to his soul, to the reality of the situation, that like he wasn't doing nothing. And he literally just sat there, and I was like, dude, I said, I guarantee you one thing, I'll be living in this house. I'll take a shower in that shower. I might even eat a bowl of cereal in this bowl the day I find out that you died, just like Corey. And I'll be like, damn, why didn't I say one more thing? Why didn't I do like one more thing? So for everybody in this room, we all have things that we can do a little bit better. If you have a goal, if you have something that's standing in your way, I don't know what it is. I just know that you got to get hyper real. Like you got to quit like living in this fantasy world and really get truly, honestly, realistic with where you're dropping the ball. It's really easy to get caught up in your success as a real estate agent and then let the other areas of your life slip. I hope this isn't sounding bad. Who might make it difficult for you to achieve your goals? You know, maybe there's someone that might make it difficult. I don't know. Maybe when somebody has a bad certain habits, maybe eating, maybe there's someone who endorses that. But you got to get, like I said, you got to get hyper aware of what's currently in your way and standing in between you and your goals. Should you tell people your goals, yes or no? So a 2009 study found that another good way to accomplish your goal is to avoid telling other people about them, because letting another person know what you're doing gives you a premature sense of accomplishment, basically. Man, I'm about to do this. You actually get a little shot of like you actually did something just because you told somebody. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have somebody who's an accountability partner, but at the end of the day, are you setting goals and telling other people about them? Getting the fulfillment like you've actually done something, but then not actually following through. That doesn't get you anywhere. Should we write our goals down, yes or no? Why? What's that? Absolutely. And the other reason why is you should, I said it, I led to it earlier, you should write them down because you should write them down before you commit to them. Write them down and make sure that's really your goal. Like, you know, and get real specific. Don't just say, hey, my goal is to get in shape. I mean, sometimes when you write stuff down, you write it down and you're like, man, I'm not really feeling that. That's not my goal. But the last thing you want to do is just start spouting your goals off to people and getting fulfillment, little shots of encouragement like you've done something. Ask yourself, what pain or sacrifice are you willing to make to hit your goal? That's probably the most important. What pain or what sacrifice are you willing to make to hit your goal? Guys, I actually counted it. So when I started running, I thought it was going to take a lot of time. I really did. So I look back over the month I didn't run. You know what I did with that time? I slept. I slept. That's what I did. or I watched Big Brother. That's true. I either watched Big Brother or I slept. Ran 250 miles in July, ran maybe 15 in August. Man, running takes a lot of time. So I slept. But to be honest with you, when I'm running and working out, I feel like, I really do honestly feel like I'm a machine. I feel like I have energy for days, you know. So don't let your ego or some false narrative that you're creating in your own mind like beat you before you ever even start. Because it's only, good is the evil of great. Things are good. But it can be so much better. It's easy to want the result from setting a goal, but are you willing to accept the sacrifice? I think it was it James Clear? Everyone wants to be an Olympian, but no one wants to train like one. Everybody wants to be an Olympian, but no one wants to train like one. Everybody wants to medal, but no one's willing to do the work. What's this mean to you guys? Where'd you first hear 100-0? Al.
I heard it from a video, Jason.
Anyone else?
I heard it from Al.
Huh? Al? It's in Compound Effect. I think page 78. I don't remember. That comes to memory. What does it mean?
Highest form of love.
Highest form of love. What does it mean? Anybody else? This is actually a great exercise. Extreme ownership. Anyone else? 100-0. We're the 100. I think that's us. Huh? Don't cheat yourself.
Take 100% accountability for everything.
100% accountability for everything that happens in your life. 100% accountability for everything that happens in your life. So everything that happens, you're 100% accountable. Every relationship. I would have put it in here, but I'm just saying, I won't even go there, but just every relationship. A lot of the times it's real convenient. My wife was in the kitchen, this was about a month ago, and I feel like we have a great relationship. And she looked at me and she said, "Did you hear what you just said?" And I was like, I really didn't. I knew what I said because I have a pretty good memory, and I ran it back through the filter, and I was like, that didn't really sound really nice. And then 5 minutes went by and I did it again. She was just some person. And I was like, that's weird. I don't know why I feel like I apologize. I don't know why I was taking that approach. That's weird. It's unconscious. Maybe I'm hungry. I don't know. Still an excuse. But sometimes we just talk to people in ways we just get too busy. Forget that people are people. So for me, it's take 100% accountability for, your relationships, where you are, everything. If you have a relationship that's not where it needs to be, then what could you do different? Not what can they do. Eckhart Tolle says when you value the relationship more than your ego, you'll apologize even if you think you're not wrong. So the goal process, it starts with your mindset, starts with alignment, habits, intentions, skills, a method or a process. You want to be a hyper realist, so stop bullshitting yourself. That's the number one thing I can tell you, is become super hyper realistic with where you are. And don't get caught up in anything else that you might think. Get hyper real. There's so many people. I had to do an ICP, and there's so many people that are making, paying themselves $12,000 a month, and everybody around them thinks they're making 30. Who gives two shits? Like, money don't really mean that. Don't let it drive every single decision. I mean, it's paper that you can make, right? And I can guarantee you, you'll make more money with relationships and treating people right than you are going to be pursuing the money. So be hyper real. Where can you get better? What can you do better? Every area. I mean, everybody's got at least one thing they can do better in every area of their life. You should at least take the time to sit back and think about what it is. So a hyper realist, don't rely on motivation. Where are you being a flake? Where are you being a flake? Let me tell you why this is true. Guys, I'm only sharing this with you because this is how I really think about myself. I was talking to a friend, and it wasn't their fault. I was talking to them, and I could feel like they thought I was insinuating they done something wrong. I was like, no, man, I'm not talking about you. Listen, this is just how I talk to myself. Dropping the ball, man. We're dropping the ball. We ain't getting shit done. We ain't putting shit in Trello. We're over here wanting to do this. We're skipping the basics. We know we're supposed to do it this way. We ain't even logged in. How the hell are we going to want them to do it when you ain't doing it? Right? Like, that's the real shit that I say to myself. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm being a flake. I'm just skipping steps. So where are you being a flake? What good or bad habits have you been trying inconsistently to create or break? Like, what have you been banging your head up against? You know how many, listen guys, I will have the biggest margarita on the earth. I didn't quit drinking because I didn't like margaritas. I quit drinking because I would buy margaritas and drink them in my car on my way to Jay's house. When I said that I don't need to drink them on the way to Jay's house, when I know Jay almost got hit by a car, it hit him in a head-on collision, knocked his mirror, right? Not drinking, but I'm saying you got hit, right? Yeah. What happens if I got hit and I'm drinking and then I got 3 little boys? I mean, that shit happens. So I was like, man, I'm not going to do it. Then I do it again the next week. Then I'm like, hey, Alex is like, hey, I'm at the gas station. You want a margarita? I'm like, yeah, can you bring me 2? And then my wife says, have you been drinking margaritas? And I put the can somewhere where she couldn't see it. I'm like, what game am I playing? I like margaritas too much. I'm going to try not to like them as much, just for a little bit. Because I was being a hyper realist with myself. My shit wasn't in control. I had to take control, not for anybody else, but for myself. Because I was being real. You know how many times I've sat in Aspen, Colorado, in the bathtub with a headache, saying, I'm not going to drink again? And then at 5 o'clock it went away and I got a drink the next day. But I didn't work out. I skipped the exercise. I just had an awareness that I was making a trade-off. But not because I don't want a glass of wine. I want to have a wine cellar with the best wine in the world. And I want to be on the back of my boat drinking it. But I want to be so disciplined that I know that I can control all of the facets of the shit that's in my life. That's just me. Everybody else has theirs. You be your own realist. But what habits do you have right now that you keep saying you're trying to break that you can't break? Just break them real quick. Face them. Take action. Just break them. Don't let your ego jump in and tell you some other story on why it's okay for you to stay where you're at. What goal did you set that you never followed through on because they were not congruent with your life goals? I did this. I got more inspired to clean my closet running up that mountain than anything. That sounds crazy as hell. But I was like, if I can run up this damn mountain, I'm going to clean my closet when I get home. My wife said, I want you to pick that shit up. I'm like, I don't have time. Same stuff I say with my running. Right when I got home, I unpacked all my bags, put all my shit up, cleaned all my stuff, and then went to my closet, and I looked at my closet, I swear to you, and I said, I'm going to clean your ass this weekend. You make time or you make an excuse. So alignment. Align your goals to your life goals as much as you possibly can. What I mean by that is like, you know, for me, I want my kids to think I'm a certain person. You know what I mean? But I don't want them to think it. I want to be it. And so running up that mountain, I had to make it. I didn't want to. When I woke up the day 3 at 5 a.m., hurting, the last thing I wanted to do was run up that damn mountain. That mountain was to run up the mountain, it took, in order to even do it, I had to cross over the last lap. So you're pacing 3 paces, and you got to get up the mountain in under 50 minutes just to make the last lap so that you can get the last one, just to break. And that was on day 2, to hit 11, just for it to be feasible for me to beat my best time 6 times in a row on day 3 just to finish. And I laid in the bed and everybody went to eat, and I was like, man, I don't want to go back and not say I fucking ran up this mountain. And I think I define a challenge as when you don't think it's possible, because I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it was physically possible. And I got my first 2 laps in 2 hours and 32 minutes. My heart was beating out of my chest. My legs hurt. Shit was muddy, wet, cold. I was cussing Jay. And I ran up that bitch, and I knew I was going to finish it. I knew it. And I thought of my kids, and I was like, man, there ain't no way. I just thought, they don't know, but I knew that I was going to run up that mountain. Because I'd already in my mind, I wanted to tell them that I ran up the mountain. Not 16 times, not 15 times, not 14 times. I wanted to tell him I ran up the mountain 17 times. That was my goal. And when it hurt and when it was painful, all I did was I thought of the 20-mile march. I was like, ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. And I just breathe and just push and push and push and push and push to get up to the top. And so I share that with you because everybody in here has some mountain that you wake up in the morning that you don't want to run up, that you need to run up it. You need to face it and run up it. Because I can tell you one thing, when I got on the plane, I felt like a badass. I was like, man, if I could run up that mountain, there is not much that I don't feel like I could do. Because I know for a fact, for 100% fact, every single, and anybody who wants to go do it, I'll do it with you. And there's not one person I talked to who said that they wanted to do it again. Not one. Not one. And if anybody in this room wants to do it, I'll go with you. And we'll finish. Who wants to go? Yeah. Align to how you want to spend your time. That's important. So how do you want to spend your time? Your habits. What is the number one habit that's holding you back from your desired outcomes? Get to the root of the problem. Get to the root of the problem. You have to. You have to. You can't let some little weak-ass thing keep you imprisoned to some little bullshit habit that you can break. If there's something holding you back, does anybody have some habit they need to break? Anyone raise your hand? You don't have to share it. Anybody? Yeah. You got to break that. You got to break it just for you. How do you define a bad habit? What's your definition of a bad habit? What would be a bad, now, not your ego. Let's just talk about our kid. If we're telling our kid what's a bad habit, how do we define a bad habit for our kids?
It's not bringing you closer to your goal.
Doesn't serve you, doesn't bring you closer to your goal. What things are not serving you and what things are taking you away from your goals? I can tell you a lot of bullshit things that were taking me away from my goals. I just broke them. I just did. And it wasn't easy. But it started with being hyper real. Are you being selfish? I was. Super selfish. Super selfish. Super selfish. If you really distill down, when I got to the root, when I did this exercise, and I really got to the root of my own personal awareness of the things that, the things that I was, the things that I was moving around in order to do the things that I wanted to do the way that I wanted to do them because I wanted to do the things that I wanted to do, I was being super selfish, making it harder on everybody. Are you being combative with the people you love? Do you have an undisciplined pursuit for more? Are you being a good listener? Are there people around you trying to talk to you? How many people feel like they could be a better listener? Do you judge others or do you judge their decisions? I mean, if someone's making a bad decision, they're no different than you when you made a bad decision. They're just at a different place in their life. Do you have inaccurate thoughts based upon feelings with zero facts? I mean, this is probably the most deadliest disease on the planet. It's so sad. I mean, I get around I see these people all the time, every dang day. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I really think it's like the flu. Everybody's got it. All this inaccurate thought. Intention. Start with the awareness of your intention. I like intention because for me, I fundamentally believe everybody has good intentions. I don't think that there's anybody in my life that has like a bad intention, right? So let's start with, what are our intentions? And where is the gap between our intentions and our results? Where is it? Where do you sacrifice your intentions because of the required effort? Like, where do you have good intentions, but when it comes down to actually doing the work or making the sacrifice, you fold? You just fold. Skills. What skills are you lacking? This is my favorite one. I got it from Brian Moses. I will tell my kids to the day I die, the best thing about skills is they can be learned. Skills. What skills do the people have that have the results you want? Not what do they have, what skills do they have? Do they have the skills of finding talent? Do they have the skills of getting talent to get things done better than you? Do they have a better skill of keeping talent? Are they more talented? What skills do they have? What is the actual fundamental skills? What things are you waiting on right now? And why? What things are you wanting to get done, business, anything that you're wanting to get done, and it's not getting done? And why? And the most important is, what skills do you want? I never wanted to wait on anybody for anything. Not in a bad way, but if I want to do something, I don't want to have to wait to get it done. Not even if it's it's nothing against my wife, anything. I want to be able to get things done. So is there somebody that you know that gets things done, but they have a better skill of how they think about getting things done than you think about them? Are you thinking about doing them? How do they think about them? Create systems, processes, and methods for hitting your goals. You are either moving closer to your goals or further away. If you're going to spend time, make it count. So these are habit stacking. That's one. What that means is, if you're trying to create a new habit, do it, tie it with another habit. So say you're wanting to do push-ups, but you drink coffee. Every morning when you go get your coffee, do your push-ups. Combine them. Stack them together. Find out what habit you're trying. You should really become, if you cannot introduce a new good habit, dude, think about it. An old dog. Y'all ever seen an old dog? An old dog? that you can't teach anything. You don't want to become an old dog. Just like you already got it all figured out. You want to continue to grow and advance and pursue. And so, like, think about that. Mental models. What are the mental models that you could be downloading? For me, that's probably one of the number one things. Accountability, for sure. Designing the environment, deconstruction. I believe emotional is probably the highest level thing. I believe people who have a negative, this is just my fundamental, it's very hard to pursue greatness with a bad mindset. Right? And so if you have disempowering emotions and beliefs and stuff like that, you got to tackle that stuff now. That's like living in prison. Go find the best person. Go to a Tony Robbins conference next year. Do something about it. Don't hold yourself back. Don't forget to reset your goals. And then make sure you're setting goals based upon how you want to invest your time. Do we have time, John? So life by strategy. Think about your bio. Write your biography. There's a lot of different templates out there. Who's got their bio nailed on LinkedIn right now? Who's thought about it? Nail your bio. I mean, you can Google it. Shit, we're real estate agents. LinkedIn. Nail your bio and then write your bio for 10 years from now. It helped me. It was stupid. I was running with there was a guy that worked for me, really good guy. He was a buyer agent. His name was Michael Kemper. I say this not disrespectfully, but he might have been, out of all the agents that ever worked for me, the most physically out of shape person. Not terrible out of shape, but just, he wasn't 3 years after he left, he had finished his 4th Ironman. Finished 4 Ironmans. I'm running in a race with him in January. I went running with him. And it was about 3 a.m. He had to go somewhere at 8, so we had to leave at 3 a.m. to get the run done. And I remember it was dark and it was kind of chilly, and I remember thinking of Darren Hardy saying, I'd never forgot when Darren Hardy spoke at our conference in 2012, him talking about rolling out of bed and going and running at night. And I remember always thinking and then I remember when me and Jay saw him in San Diego, and his shoes were spot on, his belt was perfect, his clothes were perfect, his hair was perfect. He was just just looked like he walked out of a magazine. I was like, that dude gets up in the middle of the damn morning and runs and does it anyway. Do it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. And then 3 weeks later, I'm not doing it anymore, right? So I'm on this run, and it's pitch black, and I'm thinking about Darren Hardy. He's sitting there, and I said, Kemper. He said, yeah, Mike. What made you want to start running? Man, he's country. One day, they're going to introduce me, and I'm going to be a speaker. I said, what you going to speak about, Kemper? I don't know, but I know how they're going to introduce me. I said, how are they going to introduce you? 5-time Ironman, ultra marathoner. That's what they're going to say. I was like, damn, that sounds good. I got to run an ultra marathon. I want them to introduce me that way. But what's your bio? Are you going to be the neighborhood expert? Are you shooting for something bigger than that? Not because of any other reason, but it's your goal. The only one principle, we're going to talk about this. I went through an exercise that was pretty profound, high level, but, Frank Kern calls it the perfect day. But if you only had one day that you were going to live over and over and over and over and over, what would that day be like? And what are your grandkids going to say? Are they going to call you Pappy, Pawpaw? What are they going to say? You know how many people that I know freaking brag on their grandpa? Like he was like the Incredible Hulk. Like, oh, my grandpa. Chad Smith was one of them, buddy of ours. Like, what are your kids going to, what are they going to say? I mean, I don't really got much to say about my grandpa. I don't know that much. And I believe that's kind of like your legacy, right? What are they going to say? What did you stand for? What did you do? What did you mean? If you were going to write a book and give it to yourself 10 years ago, meaning you're going back in time, you were going to write a book. You were going to write a book. You always write the book that you wish someone had written and given to you 10 years ago. What would be the name of that book? What would be the name of that book? Would it be How to Get Market Share? Death is the only thing certain. So, I don't know the quote. I just know Steve Jobs said it. I didn't have time to go look for it. But I did know that he had a lot of meaning tied to understanding how to empower his effort, knowing that one day he was no longer going to be here. Meaning like he had this runway. He said in his 40s that you really only have, he only had enough time to really do 2 more great things. Right? If you're really great, you might have a chance to do 3. At 40, he said he had about time to do 2 more great things with his life. For some of you might have 2. Some of you might have 1. You might have 3. I don't know. But you should really take the time. And I can tell you that Jesse was doing great things for people. He got another little thing. You come to his house called Hell on the Hill. It's 100 up a hill. I advise everyone to go do it. But he has another little thing where he donates money every month on your behalf. I mean, they're just really good people. I don't know how they did not make money on that event. I'm sure they lost double what they charged. It was unbelievable. But you could tell that he was really trying to do great things for entrepreneurs and really change. He was making it a significant amount of effort to deliver value. So think about what, and that's what I'm saying about him. What are people saying about you after they come into contact with you? Are they saying you got a nice car? Is that what they're saying? What's your LinkedIn say 5 years from now? If there were no limitations or consequences, what would your perfect day look like? I want y'all to write this down, okay? We're going to dissect this question just a little bit. Limitations. There's no limitations to financial, geographic, health, or people, okay? Consequences. You can't get in trouble. This is your perfect day. The best man at my wedding and his wife did this, and they came to find out that he wanted to live on a farm and she wanted to live in the city. They had never really had that discussion, which was kind of crazy. Average is you could do it every day and never get sick of it. I believe this is extremely important because I know mine. I had the best grilled cheese sandwich, by the way, in Vermont. I did not know they were known for that. So, not just stuff, but experiences, okay? This isn't just big houses, guys. Jay's been a blessing for me. I mean, this is how listen, when Jay wanted to go to Aspen, I would have never gone to Aspen. It's my favorite place to go. For 7 years, I drove by P.F. Chang's. 7 years. Never ate there. It's my favorite restaurant. Like, you could be driving by your favorite restaurant, and you could be like in one moment of decision of saying no to going to your favorite place. Where would you live? Write it down. This is your perfect, don't worry about where you are. Your perfect day. Where would you live? Harley, you can't cheat. What would your house look like? For me, I would have a cold plunge. I swear, I know Tony Robbins does, but I swear I'd have one just because it is unbelievable to like get into freezing cold water after, I'm taking an ice bath after this. But what would your house look like? What would you have? And I believe, guys, that you should really make this visual. This is just my personal opinion. What time of the day would you wake up? What would you do in the mornings? Dude, they had the most amazing smoothie. Man, I had an amazing cold press this morning and a smoothie yesterday. And they had this smoothie like setup. That would be my perfect day. I'd have a cold press and a smoothie. Who would want a cold press and a smoothie every morning when they got up? I know you would. What would you eat for breakfast? On your perfect day, just that day, what would you actually do that would be personally fulfilling? Where would you get your fulfillment? And I believe you should do this with your teams, by the way. What life purpose would you strive for? Strive towards. What would be your main income source? And that's important. How many people, if they never sold another house today and never touched their savings, have passive income to pay their bills? Raise your hand.
Somebody would want that?
No, how many people have it? And I'm not just boasting, but you could learn something from Mike Otto there. Me and Jay went and spent the day with him. Was it impressive? Yeah. Talk about buying shopping malls and centers with no money. Talk about setting up passive, or talk about the most frugal guy, first of all. But a person who sets up passive income.
Saying something coming from you.
Huh?
Saying something coming from you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, he got me beat. But my point is that would you have passive income? Would it come from real estate? When you going to start? Have you already started? Where's it going to go? What's the plan, right? What things would you do to produce value? Like, I really would love to be able to like get up in the morning and write a blog or create content for the marketplace of an audience of people who found value in things that I shared. That would be cool to me while I drink my smoothie and my cold press. But what would you do to produce value? What would your clients say you were the best in the world at? What would your clients say you were the best in the world at? Would you have clients? Maybe you don't have clients. But maybe it's your kids would say it. Maybe your wife would say it. What would people say when you weren't around? Like, man, he's really good at this. This is his thing. Things you could not buy. How would your kids describe you? Not now, but if it was perfect, if you could make it a wish and say, I wish my kids would describe me this way, how would they describe you? How would your best friend describe you? How would your spouse describe you? What things would you accomplish with your family? When I got home, my middle son's the wild one, and he's into Captain Underpants. So all he does is wear a cape with underwear everywhere. And that's why I laughed, because I was doing a FaceTime with him, and I just saw him on the trampoline bouncing with this cape. Reminded me of Odo. What would your kids' biggest complaint be about you? And what habits of yours would you hope your kids did not pick up? What habits do you have right now that you would hope your children did not adopt? This is my favorite part. We're almost done. Because I don't stay up late. But I'll stay up late to run and to watch a UFC fight. And to sit on a boat dock. And play Texas Hold'em. My kids go to bed early, so they ain't going to be up late. And I'll stay up late to talk about marketing, sales, scheming to get clients. What things would you stay up late for? On your perfect day, what would you do in your evenings? What would be your perfect evening? Mine's a grill by the lake. good music. Maybe a late night boat ride. Feet in the water. Yeah. Little glow. Who would you do them with? Who would you spend those evenings with? Who would be on that boat ride? Who would be on the back porch? Who would be in the living room? Wherever your place is, who would be there? I can smell it. And what would you think of on your perfect day right before you went to sleep? What would be your last thought before you left consciousness? What would be that last thought on your mind on your perfect day? So the question is, all we have right now is time. And the game for me is we spend time. We spend it. We either spend it wisely, we spend it unwisely. The good thing about time is we're all spending it somewhere for some reason, for however we got to where we are today. We have this reported world of the way that we spend our time. Very few people wake up in the morning and say, I want to be a banker. I want to be a realtor. I want to be the number one agent. Who, when they were 6 years old, said they want to be the top agent in their market? No one. Because that's the reported world that we just came through. In fact, you probably wanted to fly a jet airplane or open a beauty salon or something crazy. I don't know. But there's your reported identity, which is what you're just living in right now. And then there's this created identity that in the back of your mind, deep down inside, there's like this whole world of things that life could be, above and beyond of what's currently being reported. And you can create that. It's not bad, good, or indifferent. It's your life. It's your time. But to do it, you have to be able to buy your time back. Because right now, you have to spend your time creating income. So the question is, how do you buy your time? What are you doing right now that you're spending your time in a strategic way so that you can buy your time back and live that perfect day every day? You got to buy your time back. And you either got a plan that you're not motivated, you're determined. You're determined to buy the time. You've done the math. You know exactly how much that boat slip in Florida is going to cost, or the condo. Whatever it is, you know it all the way down. Mathematically, you've done the work. You're going to make this happen. It's your goal. You're not just producing and selling real estate for no reason. You have a purpose and why you're doing it. And you know exactly what you need to do. You've done the math. You know where you're going. You know exactly what you're going to do in order to get there. And you're going to buy every single amount of the time you can possibly afford to get back so that you could spend your time doing the things you love to do. Then you're going to leverage your time. Doing whatever you want. producing the most value in the world as you possibly can for the people you love, for the things that you love, for the things that you care about, for the people you care about, for the purposes you care about. You're going to leverage your time. You're going to have time to leverage. So you're going to go create a massive amount of value because you have your time, because you spent your time wisely, buying your time back so you could go invest it where you wanted to. Does that make sense? Yes or no? So the question is when will you stop trading time for money? When will you stop trading time for money? If you want to stop trading time for money, how do you create passive income? Because right now, we're all spending our time doing things that we reportedly love to do. We didn't want to do them when we were 5 years old. We're doing them because they make money. But if you could be doing anything else on the planet, which you can, then you just have to come up with your own plan. You have to have a plan that aligns to your goal, that is congruent. Hope is not a strategy. You have to have a life by strategy. That means you got to control the whats, the whens, the wheres, the hows, the whos, everything you're going to do. So let me tell you what I do know. Everybody in this room, every single person in this room is an influencer. You are influencing people and you don't even know it. They're watching you, they hear you, they see you. When you don't think they see you, they see you. They ain't got to like your Facebook post to say they saw it. They saw it. They don't have to write a comment on your Facebook post to say they saw it. They saw it. You made them think. They're wondering what you're doing. Y'all are influencing the people around you. And I'm telling you right now, community is the new currency. That's the new currency. Community is the new currency. Facebook communities, people who have podcasts have communities. Community is the new currency. So figure out a way that you can leverage your time, how you can leverage your community, how you can buy your time back. And that's all I got. I did that presentation in 24 hours for you guys.